A lot of white people only know how to be friends with happy black people. They hate it when you stop tap dancing. They hate it when you're not performing at your highest level because that may be how they met you. And so that's how they see you, strong. There's truly an intolerance for black people's emotions in white spaces because you perceive them to be more intense and you perceive them to be threatening. And I don't have time to tell you why that's a microaggression. There's certain things I can only tell people one time. After that, I am going to have to vie for my humanity to get your respect. And I don't know how people don't see that that's not fair. I also think that white people don't consider that you're masking sometimes, or a lot of the time, when you're in predominantly white environments. It doesn't mean I'm not used to it. I grew up in PWIs. It doesn't mean it's not tiring. But there's not space for that because in the status quo that is whiteness and silence and complacency and assumption, in order for me to feel fully human, I will have to disrupt that sometimes. And I just know there's a really big intolerance for me to interpret things differently, to feel uncomfortable, to be honest. It doesn't need to come from a place of intention, but there is a certain time where I have to say to you, listen, I'm not being paid to tap dance right now. But that will be seen as aggressive. I love it here. It's a really big intolerance for Black people's emotions to take up space in a way that maybe people aren't used to. Maybe they've never had to do it before. Is that my responsibility? It might not be responsibility, but I'm starting to feel that is what is required of me to feel like people aren't looking at me like I'm a problem. But maybe I am a problem. I'm sure I am a problem. When it comes to what is status quo, what is, again, complacency. We need to understand that the environments and cycles and systems have a natural tone that isn't going to be welcoming to people who are maybe not small, thin, white, whatever. If you can only be friends with a Black person when they're super happy and performing in a way that you're used to your other friends performing, that's not tolerance. That's not space. And it's not about people being racist or not racist. It's about the way you have learned to be as a person exists in whiteness that I don't have access to. And it'd be nice if you could acknowledge that once in a while. It shouldn't be expected of the Black person to always perform to the level and the tap dancing and the certain smiles and outward projection of what it means to be comfortable in a white society. Nobody ever considers it doesn't look the same for me. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's just I think specifically when you're raised in a predominantly white environment, you might be used to conforming to that. But when you are around people that you should feel comfortable with, you want to be able to take that mask off. And once you do, you're going to see how those people really see you. When you are your honest self. And it's so interesting. You could be the most authentic, honest version of yourself. And they'll say, who is this version of you? I only know the tap dancer. Requiring a Black person to explain why their experience is different than yours in a room that you were in, like it couldn't possibly be true because you were there, is negating their whole experience as a Black person and their ability to interpret things that start off as microaggressions but end up in danger, because when we're looking for microaggressions, it's for safety reasons. The same way you as a woman, when you say to your man, there's this little thing that bothers me and I know you don't get it, but I need you to care that it bothers me. That's the space. You cannot understand it, but you should care that it bothers me. And unfortunately, a lot of times that little space isn't given because it's too much of a disruption of the status quo. And for me to act like that's valid or fair to me is stripping my humanity. And you can disagree with that, but I don't know how to explain to you. I'm not a tap dancer in a cage. I need fucking air. I need oxygen. Once your presence starts to threaten their relationship with the white man who may or may not hold the keys to their industry, and you understand that you and your Black presence and your need to vie for your own humanity might come in the way of their social status, their seat at the table, and you start to see something in their eyes of they will sacrifice you for that because it's in their blood. It's in their blood. And this is why, when we're talking about social settings and white people think that they know how you are meant to behave and you are ostracized for not behaving with the status quo, it's I always think about the impetus for Black people to run away and laugh or run away as they're laughing is to not get caught by their slave owners. But you can't say to them, are you thinking about the blood of my ancestors and how it makes me behave versus how the blood of your ancestors makes you behave in a primarily white space that to me would feel like a threat and to you feel like home? You're aggressive. Angry.